Hello and welcome back. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it might happen to be. We are back today with another short story. Yes, we are still on a break. Very sorry, we will be getting back to it. We've just got people, away and doing things and having family problems. So, unfortunately, when it comes to D&D, life happens. So today, we've got a story that was actually a request by one of my players. He wanted to know a little bit more about the opponent that he fought in the arena in the very first chapter of our story. He basically asked me if the character was just a one-off for there, or if there was a bit more to him. So we're going to give you a little bit of his backstory today, and, we'll see when he crops back up in the story where things go from there. Enjoy, comment below if you're enjoying these, and let me know, and catch up with you again soon.
Kragath paced the cramped room beneath the arena, his broad shoulders nearly brushing the low, soot-stained ceiling. His knuckles were raw, split open from yet another night of failure in the pits. The scent of blood and sweat hung in the air like a taunt, mingling with the muffled roars of the crowd above. The blood tusk insignia, a crude, tusk-shaped medallion, was clutched in his hand, its edges cutting into his palm. Once it had been a source of pride, a reminder of his place among his people. Now it was nothing more than a cruel relic, a symbol of everything he had lost. Banished. The word stung every time it echoed in his mind. Kragath remembered the sneering faces of his tribe as the elder passed judgment, their eyes gleaming with disdain. He had been a fool to spare that child during the raid. Weak, they called him. Coward. They had stripped him of his name, his honor, his place among them. But Titan, the sprawling, lawless city of shadows, had offered him a chance. Or so he had thought. Kragath's fists tightened at the memory of his humiliations in the underground arena. He had entered as an outsider, eager to prove himself, to forge a new path. But the other fighters had years of experience, brutal cunning and little mercy. Kragath's natural strength and combat training meant little when he was outmatched by dirty tricks and ruthless efficiency. The door creaked open behind him, and a wiry man in patched leathers peeked in. "Kragath, you're up next." The orc didn't reply, didn't even turn. The man hesitated before stepping back into the hallway, muttering something under his breath. Kragath stared at the medallion in his hand one last time, then hurled it across the room. It clattered against the stone wall and fell to the ground, forgotten. The fight was over quickly, like all the others. Kragath knelt in the dirt of the arena floor, his chest heaving. Blood streamed from a cut above his eye, blurring his vision. The crowd jeered and booed, their disappointment palpable. Across the pit, his opponent, a wiry half-elf with a cruel smile, raised his fists in victory. As the guards dragged Kragath from the pit, the jeers faded into the background. He was numb to them now, numb to everything. Back in the dim corridors beneath the arena, he slumped against the wall, pressing a rag to his bleeding head. He didn't notice the figure standing in the shadows until a voice broke the silence. "Tough night, eh?" Kragath looked up, his good eye narrowing. A man stepped forward, his lean frame cloaked in a long grey coat. His hair was a wild mess of black and grey streaks, and his face bore the sharp, gaunt features of someone who rarely smiled. "Who are you?" Kragath growled. "Draska Rin," the man said smoothly. "A chemist, among other things." He crouched down, his sharp eyes studying Kragath like a specimen under glass. "You're not from here, are you? Let me guess. Banished, cast out, looking for a new start?" Kragath's scowl deepened, but he said nothing. Rin chuckled, standing again. "I've seen your fights. You've got the strength, but you're holding back. Fighting like someone who still has something to prove. That's not going to work here, you know. This city chews up people like you and spits them out." Kragath's grip tightened on the rag. "What do you want?" "What I want," Rin said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, "is to make you unstoppable. I've been watching you, Kragath. You have potential, but it's buried under all that honor and hesitation. You're like a blade that's never been sharpened. I can help with that." Kragath snorted, leaning his head back against the wall. "Why would you help me? What's in it for you?" Rin smiled, a predator's smile. "Let's just say I have an interest in pushing boundaries." My work is all about unlocking potential, and you, my friend, are the perfect candidate for my latest project. Project? Enhancement, Rin said simply. I've developed a chemical process that can heighten your strength, speed, and endurance. It can turn you into something more than you are, something unstoppable. All I need is your cooperation. Kregath eyed him warily. Sounds like a trick. It's a gamble, Rin admitted, his tone unbothered. There's risk involved, yes, pain, but tell me this, how much more pain can you take? How many more nights like this one, losing, bleeding, being dragged out of the pit like a beaten dog? How long before you give up entirely? The words hit harder than any punch. Kregath's jaw tightened, his hands curling into fists. He hated the way Rin's gaze seemed to pierce through him, laying bare the shame and frustration he tried to bury. Rin took a step closer, his voice dropping to a near whisper. You want to prove them wrong, don't you? The Blood Tusk, the Elder, all those who called you weak. You want to show them what they threw away. Kregath's heart pounded, his breath quickening. I can give you that power, Rin said, his eyes gleaming. All you have to do is trust me. The laboratory was a hidden maze of stone and steel, tucked beneath one of Titan's many crumbling warehouses. Rin led Kregath through a series of narrow corridors, the air thick with the acrid scent of chemicals and burnt metal. Strange contraptions filled the space, tubes bubbling with luminous liquids, coils sparking with faint arcs of energy. In the center of the main chamber stood a steel table surrounded by glowing vials. Rin gestured to it with a flourish. This is where it happens. The transformation. Kregath eyed the setup warily. What exactly are you going to do to me? Rin picked up one of the vials, its contents swirling with an ominous red glow. This is Chem Fury, my latest creation. It's a cocktail of alchemical compounds designed to unlock your latent potential. Once it's in your bloodstream, it will heighten your strength, speed, and reflexes. You'll feel rage like never before, but it will make you unstoppable. Rage? Kregath frowned. Controlled rage, Rin said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Don't worry. You'll still be you. Just enhanced. Kregath's instincts screamed at him to leave, to turn his back on this strange man and his promises. But then he thought of the arena, the blood tusk, the jeering crowds. He thought of the child he had spared, the act of mercy that had cost him everything. What do I have to do? He asked finally. Lie down, Rin said, gesturing to the table. The first injection was agony. Kregath's muscles seized, his vision blurring as fire seemed to course through his veins. He roared in pain, the sound echoing through the chamber. Rin stood back, watching with a detached fascination, jotting notes on a clipboard. The pain was unrelenting, searing through every fiber of Kregath's being. His mind spiraled into chaos, memories flashing before him in rapid succession. The Blood Tusk Elder's condemning gaze, the faces of his tribe, the child's terrified eyes, and then suddenly the pain receded. Kregath opened his eyes, gasping for breath. The world around him was sharper, more vivid. His muscles felt like coiled steel, his heartbeat a thunderous drum. He sat up, snapping the leather straps that had held him down. Rin clapped his hands, a triumphant grin spreading across his face. Magnificent, how do you feel? Kregath flexed his hands, feeling the raw power coursing through him. Stronger, he growled, his voice deeper, more guttural. Good, Rin said. Now let's see what you can do. The next night, Kregath returned to the arena. The crowd barely recognized him as he stepped into the pit. Gone was the battered, hesitant fighter of before. In his place was a towering force of nature, his movements confident, his eyes burning with an unnatural intensity. His opponent, a seasoned human brawler, didn't stand a chance. Kregath's speed was blinding, his strength overwhelming. Each strike landed with bone-shattering force, and within moments the fight was over. The crowd roared, their jeers replaced with cheers. Kregath stood in the center of the pit, his chest heaving, blood dripping from his fists. For the first time in months he felt alive. But as he raised his arms in victory, a small voice in the back of his mind whispered a warning. This power came at a cost, and deep down he knew he had only begun.